A Yom Yom for the 25th. It's long. The Alter Rebbe related. When I was in Mezrich, I heard from my Rebbe, yes, the Magid, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. The 7th month, which is this month coming up Tishrei, which is the first of the months of the year, is blessed by God Himself. In other words, we don't say the nusach of Mevorchin the Chodesh, blessing the Chodesh. And God Himself blesses it on Shabbos Mevorchin, the last Shabbos of the month of Elul. With this power, Israel, us, the Jewish people, blesses the other months, the other 11 times a year. It is written, Atem Netzovim Hayom. That's the Parsha, Netzovim. You stand this day. This day refers to Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of judgment. As it is written, the day came, which Targum renders, the translation renders, the day of the great judgment came. Yet you remain standing, firmly upright. Netzovim, meaning you will be vindicated in judgment. On the Shabbos preceding Rosh Hashanah, last Shabbos in Elul, yes, which is this coming Shabbos, we read the Parsha of Atem Netzovim, which is God's blessing on the Shabbos of blessing, the 7th month, Shabbos Mevorchi. That 7th month, Tishrei, is itself sated, satiated, satisfied, full, and in turn satiates all Israel with an abundance of good for the duration of the coming year. Okay. Listen to Tanya. We're doing, yesterday, the 25th of Elul, which starts chapter 7, Epistle 17. These are Igros Kodesh, Geras HaKodesh, page 295. 295. And, yeah. Yet another take on the mitzvah of Tzedaka. Al-Pi Panemius, according to the inner dimension of things. Noida, it is known. The Birsadusalusata Shah Adam Ma'oira Belibai, through the arousal from below, that a person arouses in his heart, Midas of Chesed V'Rachmanis, the attributes of kindness and mercy, Al Kol Hatzirichim L'Rachamim, to all those who need mercy. It's known that Irisidusa Le'ela, that arousal that we down here below arouses up above from the source of all mercies, to bring down, to flow down to the person, the fruits of the mitzvahs in Olam Hazeh. Right, this was the Mishnah says in Gemara Peah, the Hakeren LaOlam Haba, and the source of the hashpah you get in the future world. The fruit you get in this world, and the source of the fruit, the chayas that's in the fruit, that's bringing life and existence to the fruit, you get in the Olam Haba. Judash HaPeiros, what does it mean, the Peiros? Hu hashpos hashpom and makor rachamim. The fruits are what comes down, what you get, what you can eat. This is the flow from the source of mercy, the chaya chayim, and the life of life, baruch hu, and emshechas lamata mata bebechinas istalshlus oilimus, which is drawn down below and below, level after level, in what we call the seder histalshlus of worlds, milamayla lamata, from above to below. Ad shemislabeshes ba'olam hazeh, until that flow gets enclosed in this world, Hagashmi, this physical world, in the form of your children, the quality of your life, and your food. So that's the peiros, that's the fruit. We can eat that. Hakeren, which is the source of it all, it's written, on that it's written, your mitzvah is very wide, very wide. That's the word that's used. It should have said your mitzvah voice, plural. Why does it say singular? Lashon, should have said plural, Lashon Rabin, your mitzvos. Well, because, as we're about to say, it's meant to designate a particular mitzvah, which is the source of everything which comes down. V'gam Lashon, he says in parentheses, V'gam Lashon Chava Enu Mubin. Also, why does it say wide? Wide particularly. Ela mitzvaysecha, when it says your mitzvah, which is singular, daika, he mitzvah tzedaka. It's speaking out the mitzvah of tzedaka. Shehu mitzvah Hashem mamish, which is mamish the mitzvah of Hashem. Why is it called the mitzvah of Hashem? Because it's a tzedaka of, it's Hashem's tzedaka that he puts himself aside to create everything. So this is called mitzvah Hashem. That which God himself in his glory, Tomid, continually does what? To bring worlds into existence. Worlds are lowly things compared to the essence of God himself. And he continually puts himself aside for the sake of the lowly worlds. And this will be even more evident in the future when it's now this is not evident. We're not consciously feeling the presence of being recreated every moment. But in the future, we will. But as is written in Bereshit, a pasuk, it says, "B'shomru derech Hashem la'asis tzedakah." That we call tzedakah, the mitzvah of Hashem, is related to this pasuk. You should guard the path of Hashem. And what is the Chumash said? La'asis tzedakah, to do righteousness, to do tzedakah. And it's called a derech, right? The derech of Hashem. This is a metaphor, like a person walks from one city to another on a pathway. So to get Hashem himself down here, you have to walk the pathway. And the pathway is the mitzvah of tzedakah. So as he says, Kach tzedakah, similarly tzedakah, tzedakah is the revelation of the ray of the light of the infinite one, blessed be he, which is soiviv kol almin, which encompasses all worlds. It's all tzedakah encompasses everything. And it comes down so that it shines until this world, and it comes as a result of our drawing it down in terms of the pathway, the law of tzedakah that we do chesed chinam, right? We talked about giving ourselves away. And that will be, Hashem will so-called give himself away, give himself over, reveal his deepest self, in the future, at the time of and through the resurrection of the dead. The force of resurrection is a force that's coming from Soviv Kalalmit. So therefore it's a revelation of a much, much greater power, but Yosis always in a much greater strength. La'ain kates, without end, or in this case, without any comparison, without any comparison to the revelations of Hashem that are in the upper and the lower and upper Gan Eden. Lower and upper Gan Eden. Once you're talking upper and lower, you're talking mamali, you're talking levels. This revelation, B'Techiyas Amesim, is the revelation of Soviv. Because all the souls of the tzaddikim, the tanoim from the Mishnah and the prophets, which are now in the higher level of Gan Eden, Barum Hamailus in the highest levels, Yislabshu begufeisehem. At the Chiyas Amesim, they will be enclosed in their bodies, la'asid, in the future, and they will stand up in the time of Chiyas Amesim, lahanus meziva shechina. While they're in their bodies, they will actually experience the pleasure of the Shekhinah. Because the revelation which is in Gan Eden, it's just levels of Hashem's Ha'orah. Shehu beginis istalshalis, a chain of descent from one level, one level to another. Through very strong contractions, condensations, and concealments. As it says, The Yud Nivra Olam Haba. The Yud, this little dot, which is a very contracted, right? Contracted down to a dot, is how he creates Olam Haba. So Olam Haba and all the worlds are created with a very little effusion of God's light. And that little effusion of God's light is called the supernal Chachma. Yud Chachma, the point of Chachma. And Nikras Eden, which is called Eden, I mean, the expression Gan Eden, it's not the garden of Eden, it's the garden which comes from Eden. And Eden is Chachma, Chachma Elyon. Amistal Sheles, Umislabeshes, Bekol HaOilim, as that infusion of godliness in Chachma becomes enclosed in all the worlds. Kamashakasev, as is written, Kulam b'Chachma Asisa. You make everything through this little infusion of godliness, starting with Chachma. Now, Chachma Teitichya, there's another pasuk. Chachma is what's enlivening the whole Seder Histalshalos. Ubegan Eden, and in Gan Eden, people, souls have a revelation of this and this process. Each one according to his own measure, his or her, the constitution and the sensitivity and the particular characteristics of your and my soul. Because the delight of neshamas in Gan Eden, is what's our delight? Understanding the secrets of the Torah, which we engaged in this world. So we're speaking, for instance, we're sitting learning halacha. And our intention in doing it is to be able to fulfill the halacha. But the halacha, the halachas are expressive of the goings of Hashem. And when we're in souls in Gan Eden, we'll have an exposure to and a sensitivity to how this halacha lamaisa down here below contains the flow of godliness. As we, that will be our perspective on what we have been learning down here in Olam Hazeh, Benigla, in the revealed part of the Torah, as this is expressed, B'Zohar HaKodesh, Parshas Shlach, U'Begamora, Ba'uvda de Rabba Nachmeni, the story of Rabbi Nachman Bachmeni. Rabbi Bachmeni was one of the Tanoim whose soul up there was arguing with Hashem about the halacha, and the halacha went according to Rabbi Nachmani. Aval Gili Ha'odas and Techiyas HaMesim, that's all revelation of Gan Eden. But in Techiyas HaMesim, the revelation will not be from Mamali Kalalman, it will be from the essential source of Mamali Kalalman, which is called Soivid. She'enu Bebechinas Simsum, V'shir. Soivid Kalalman is not, the level of Soivid Kalalman is beyond or deeper than the contraction, the first contraction. It's without contraction, it's without condensation, without any measure, the gavul, and without any boundedness. El bligvul, it's unbounded, unlimited. The tachlis, it has no bounds or limitations. As we have learned earlier in Perek Mem Ches, the Bir in Soivik Almin, where the Alter Rebbe gives the first explanation of what Soivik Almin is, and in short, She'enu Kishishmoi K'mei Eagle, he explained over there that don't think of it as a circle which is removed from anything on the periphery only. What it means is, when we say it's soivev, that it's not enclosed. It's everywhere and it's infused in everything. That was the teaching back there. Don't think of the word soivev as peripheral. Think of the word soivev as invested in everything equally. Ayin Shom Heitev and see over there. Okay, that's yesterday's Tanya. And this is what our sages have said. Their crowns will be upon their head. Crown, of course, is always an allusion to Soivikal Almin. So the crown, the Soive, will be upon their heads. And they will have pleasure from that. The crown, a diadem, something that sits on the top of the head, we call that Soive. Venikra Keser, like Keser Malchus. And why is it called keser? Miloshin kaistres. It's from the ornamental tops of pillars that are the tops. If you ever take a look at the classical Grecian pillars, there are various styles. Corinthian is one style, different styles of the top of the pillar. And what is this top of the pillar? It's an intermediary. Which joins the emanator himself, the infinite one, to the emanated ones. That's the crown. So that's the purpose of Soiviv Kol Almin, to create an interface. And what do we have now? We have Mamale, Soiviv, and we have the emanator himself. And Soiviv is the intermediary between the emanator himself and the whole Seder Histalshalos. Well, Osid, and in the future, we're speaking about Techiyas HaMesim, Yira is Gala Be'olam Hazeh. If you can imagine that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the source, through the quality of Soivev, will be actually revealed in this world. L'chol HaTzadikim, to all the Tzadikim, Sheyakumu B'Techiyah, who stand up at the time of Techiyas HaMesim, and parenthetically he brings the Amoch Kulam Tzadikim, that we are all Tzadikim. So all of us will stand up, and not only will stand up, but the perspective of the reality, the way we'll live, will be with the tangibility of Soiviv Kol Almin. And this which our sages say about the future, they say, Asidim Tzadikim she'omru lifneihem kodesh, that this, in the future, it's the tzaddikim who speak in front of you and say Kodesh. Ki Kodesh, why do they say Kodesh? Because Kodesh hu bechinas muvdo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not the first time we've said this, right? Kodesh is muvdo. Separate, in a different getter, in a different arena. And what's that different arena? The different arena of Soiviv Kol Almin versus Mamali Kol Almin. She'ein beget hasaga. The level of Soiviv Kol Almin doesn't get low enough to be in the graspability of understanding and knowledge. Soga v'das. Ki hula maila b'chinas ha'chokma v'das shebegan Eden, because this Soiviv Kol Almin is much, much higher than the level of Mamali Kol Almin, which begins with Chokma and Das, which is what's happening in Gan Eden. Ki ha'chokma me'ayin timatzeh. That's that we just said about Chokma being just something small compared to the Or HaSoivev is encapsulated in this little expression. Chokma me'ayin timatzeh. You see, it's a pasuk that's written in Eov, in Job. Chokma, the ayin, from the ayin, which is the Soivev, that's where it's found. Hu bechinas keser, elyon. And that Soivev is called the supernal crown. Hanikra ayin bezoyer kodesh, which is called ayin in the Holy Zohar. So there's something to put together. The Holy Zohar calls keser ayin, because it's an ayin, it's a nothing substantial, nothing understandable that you can say about it in relation to Mamali Kol Almin, which begins with Chokma being the Das, and that's where all the conceptual language and the concreteness of things begins down in Mamali Kol Almin. But this is called ayin. This is keser equated with ayin. The hashpos ha'oret bebechinas gili, and the flow of the godly energy into the revelation, hudafke kishen hashemis mislabish beguf. This flow of keser, and now not just the flow is happening all the time, the awareness, the living and being comfortable with, and the daily life being infused with the awareness of keser. This is something that pertains to and accrues to neshamas, specifically dafka, to neshamas which are enclosed in the body, and the body is zach, when the body is pure, bitzach, and clear, acha ha-techiyah, which will happen after Techiyas HaMesim. Ki nois techilasan b'soifen dafka, and there's our expression from Sefer Yetzirah, because the beginning is wedged in the end specifically, the end being the corporeality of the human body, and the essence is there, but in the Tchias HaMesim will live with the experience of that essence. The Soif Ma'aseh B'Shabbat Techila, another way it's sort of saying the same thing, when we're saying in Shabbos davening, Soif Ma'aseh B'Shabbat Techila, that which is end indeed was first in his thought, as is known. However, it's impossible to come to this level. You have to first go to Gan Eden. He says all the souls will, at least for some short period of time, will go up, and then they'll be reinvested. You have to first go up into Gan Eden, to get some understanding of Chokhmah Elah, which is that interface between Soivev and Mamale. Kol chad, he says, in the brackets, Kol chad kafun shiur delay, each one according, as we said earlier, the awareness, the quality of the awareness is particular to the quality and particularity of a person's soul. The Tal Torah, and the dew of the Torah. Now, the dew of the Torah is a reference to Soiv Kalaman, because Soiv, dew, comes from above to below and sits on top of the grass. The Tal Torah Mechayehu, and it's the dew of Torah, the inner dimension of Torah, the Soiv of Torah, which gives life. And the Torah will inform you. The Torah will inform the speaking that you do. When you arouse, okay, Kitzus, right? I'm sorry. When you arouse, when you wake up, when the Tchias HaMesim, that panemius of the Torah will be what your speak will be about. The Dailam Haven, and this can be understood easily, hopefully. And this is what's meant by the pasuk that says, your mitzvah, we come back to, right? We asked the question, why does it say your mitzvah is very wide instead of great or profound or whatever else could be? So why does it use the word wide? He mitzvah, what's the mitzvah which is very wide? The one which encompasses Soiviv Kol Almin, the one which is the beginning of all of reality. It's the mitzvah of tzedakah, God putting himself aside. Shehi kli b'shetach. It's the vessel and it's the container, rachav, a wide container, or a wide space, really. A shetach is an area. It's a wide space. Tzedakah is, we go out of ourselves, right? Out of our way. He is going out of his way. His normal way of us experiencing him is through Mamali Kalam. In Tchias HaMesim, he brings something out of that norm. So similarly in Tzedakah, when we go out of our way, we widen ourselves, broaden ourselves, have a wider influence, right? Give ourselves over in more places or in greater depth. So this is the equivalent of Hashem doing the same thing, of the Orein Sof Baruch Hu. Moshe Kosev has written, Labusha Tzedakah, that his garment, by the way, is he covers himself, right? He wraps himself. That's the Or Soivet. And his garment that he wraps himself with is tzedakah. And this, the quality of what's going on here and the source from whence it comes will be manifest in the future. In a manner which is without end and without any boundaries. I just realized that I've gone past today's. That's interesting. Nobody noticed because we were so.
Oh, I noticed. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt you.
So we'll end in the middle of the sentence since we're going to pick it up tomorrow again. Okay. I mean, what's the sum of this? Tzedakah, Mekarebe says Haga'ula, right? The Geula, the time when all flesh will see God, right? And when all flesh will see God, and this will be the first step When we see God in Geula, we're seeing Mamalik Olam, the revelation of Mamalik Olam. He invests himself. It's godliness, but godliness as it's invested in various levels. Comes to Kiyas Mesim, and we'll see the root of it all, the Or HaSoivev, which is all-encompassing. And it's all about the all-encompassing mitzvah of Tzedaka. And so it's interesting. From this chapter, you could say, Tzedaka Mekarabes is a Geula. The Tzedaka brings Geula and ultimately beyond Geula. It's amazing. Okay. What's anybody got to say?
I guess I have a question, because here the Alter Rebbe says that the neshama has to go first to Gan Eden and then have Tchias HaMeisim in order for it to acquire. And the Rebbe said, neshamas begufim bli hefsek, that there shouldn't be a hefsek.
So, I love your questions, but you have to start giving answers. So how do we understand those two things? And you have to look at the context of where the Rebbe said each of them. This is not really a hefsek. This is a continuum.
Going up to Gan Eden would be a hefsek. The neshama leaves the body, goes up to Gan Eden, and then comes back.
Why do you call it a hefsek? It's just the natural. It's like the next step. The step after this.
I thought that's what the Rebbe meant. No hefsek is, in other words, you continue living right into Geula.
What, in the body? Geula, yeah, Geula comes in the body. Tchias HaMeisim comes from a brief hefsek. Yes.
Well, the hefsek means dying.
For a moment, exactly. And that's what it is. The exact same experience that we had at Har Sinai. Our souls flew out of our body. We were, quote, dead. And he then reinvested them in us. And when he reinvested them in us, it was a whole new thing. It was Matan Torah. That's exactly the paradigm that we're talking about between Geula and Tchias HaMeisim. Okay, someone else has a hand up. Who? Maybe nobody. Oh, Sarah. No, somebody did.
Boker Tov. Just to continue on the line, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, to continue on the line of what Elisheva was bringing up, another thought or teaching that I'm pretty sure I learned from Rabbi Ginsburg many years ago, that Gan Eden, one of the, if you want to use the word definitions of Gan Eden, is shifts in divine consciousness. And there are many levels of Gan Eden. There's not just a place called Gan Eden.
And so just to interrupt, that's called Mamalik Olam. Mamalik Olam has many different levels and many different shifts. Yeah.
So these shifts and growing upward in divine consciousness are a continuum. So in a sense, this would, in my mind, sort of resolve the question that Elisheva is talking about, because it is a continuum.
Gan Eden is a continuum.
Right. The concept of Gan Eden is a continuum. It's correct. It's not a level of, okay, I left here and I went someplace else. I don't know what that means.
No, everyone's saying.
Therefore there's a hefsek. Because
everyone is saying Gan Eden is a continuum. No one's saying it's not. The hefsek, the different experience, is Tchias HaMeisim.
Okay, well, that I wasn't.
That's what we're saying.
No.
Tchias HaMeisim, the Shomas have just as I said, the model of Matan Torah. There's a break. Every soul goes up and then it comes back. And when it comes back with the experience of Kesed.
But here, the way Sarah explains it, it replaces death. There's no need for death. It's only need for a shift in consciousness. That would be Gan Eden, a shift in consciousness.
It's both, though. It's both. The shift in consciousness is what's what I'm looking at. The shift in consciousness is accompanied by a shift in the physicality as well. You can, it's definitely a shift in consciousness, but Think about it. How do we get to Gan Eden? We get to Gan Eden by the soul leaving the body. But this is a metaphor, of course, for the fact that while we're in a body, we can have shifts in consciousness. And this is what's talked about, what we said at the beginning, that we get something of it. But we get the fruits. We can shift consciousness, and we are not can. We are graded to shift consciousness to higher levels and deeper levels of consciousness. But the Keren, the Or HaSoive, right? Differences in consciousness, right? Anytime you're talking differences, you're talking Mamali. The Keren, which is above that, which is not different, which is Olam, which is the root of it, that's the Chiyas HaMesim, and that's a break. It's like the break. It's like the boundary between yesh and ayin. One is an ayin, another a yesh. Yes, they're connected, but they're two different states of consciousness. The consciousness of the Keren, of the fruits, which is various, infinite levels of consciousness while the soul is in the body, and the Keren, which is a totally different thing.
Can I ask another question? You in this class, you brought up that until after Chiyas HaMesim, that we don't really live with.
Soiviv.
No, I want to say Keter because it was specific.
No, Kesser is Soiviv.
All right, but I'm going to say Keter because I'm more familiar with that. I understand that better. But I was a little bit hard for me to makabel that completely because I feel like in Keser is Amuna Pashuta, and in Keser is when we strive, I don't know if we achieve, but let's say a person at least strives to align their will with Hashem's will. Those are parts.
You're confusing, but I can't deal with it now. Try to bring me back tomorrow because I really have to run.
Okay.
But there is a confusion there. We can talk about it. Okay? We'll see you guys tomorrow. Mir Hashem.